Am I the butthole for walking off in the middle of dinner? My friend was trying to set me, 27M, up with one of her friends. Only reason I said yes was because she kept pushing us to go out and telling me she thinks we'd be a cute couple. So whatever, I gave in, and we agreed to meet at this restaurant. Her choice, by the way. It was this Mexican restaurant, and I've been there before. They make some really good enchiladas. The tables are spaced out because of COVID and obviously not a lot of seats available for people who want to eat, so we spent like 15 minutes waiting to get a table. This girl was already getting impatient, and literally the second we get a table, she's talking crap to the waitress who came to ask us what we want to drink. About how they shouldn't be open if they're not able to cater to their customers. She was just being super rude to this lady for absolutely no reason. Funny thing was, she's being totally nice to me. First gave her crap because she brought ice in her drink but never asked for it to have no ice, which I pointed out to her, but she didn't believe me because she knows she asked for no ice, then again got mad because there wasn't any burgers on the menu. It's a Mexican restaurant. I told her if she wanted burgers we could have gone to a place that serves burgers. But she claimed this place did serve burgers because she's been here before. Again starts giving the waitress a hard time, and I tried hard not to let it get to me up until she called the waitress an F-king dumbass and to do her job. At that point I apologized to the waitress, then told the girl we're done here. I took out my wallet to pay for the drinks, also a tip for the waitress, and told her I'm not putting up with her bullcrap anymore. This girl was calling for me, but I walked out the restaurant and drove off. She came in a separate car, by the way, so not like she was left stranded. My phone was blowing up. All the messages from this girl were on pretty much called her worst date and other names too. Then my friend was giving me a hard time because now she's embarrassed to be around this girl knowing that I just walked off during our dinner. And she says I could have handled that better than acting like a complete jackass if I didn't like the way she was acting. At least could have been a gentleman and made it through the meal instead of humiliating her. I don't know, that stuff really bothers me. My mom was a waitress and I'd be her work all the time after school until her shift ended. Saw the way customers treated her sometimes, so I guess it was personal for me seeing how this girl was being. Not sure if I let my emotions get the best of me and if I was in fact a butt the way I reacted. Definitely not the butthole. A very big not the butthole. That girl, she is most definitely not a woman with how childish she was acting, was disgusting and rude. That girl is not entitled to have you save her face, especially if she was being a big ah. You should be proud that you walked away, and that you didn't put up with that behavior. It expressly shows to her that it's wrong, and it shows the waiter that someone has her back against people like that. I'm seconding this comment big time. Original poster should be proud of his actions. Not the butthole, and well done. Absolutely. How people treat those people they consider to be less important than themselves tells us so much about them. I love how you stood up for the waitress. Who wants to waste their time with someone like that awful date? My mom actually said that was one of her favorite ways to get an initial read on a guy. How did he treat the restaurant staff? Did he treat the host, waiter, or busser any different than the others? She suggested it for me and my sister to use. I have always said you can tell everything you need to know about a person by how they treat restaurant staff and animals. If either is negative, they don't get the time of day from me. Ever. Yeah, agree mostly with this, but I know my dad, he is such a gentle soul but has this mental like I'd be nice with you if you're nice with me, and he is really good with children, especially toddler. Imagine a crying toddler, and when my dad takes him/her in few seconds the toddler stops crying and is laughing. So often the hero at big family gatherings with toddlers. I personally consider it his superpower. But there is this one particular cat of our neighbors, he immensely despised this animal as he is really proud of his garden flowers and vegetables, and this cat always crap in his garden, so if he sees the cat there is a huge possibility a shoe is flying. Edit. There seems to be misunderstanding, it's not about all animals, cats, in general, but only this particular individual one. Other ones who pass through the garden are just fine, just this special one. Throw water. It discourages them but can't hurt them. There is a big difference between not liking an animal and being abusive to an animal. I'm not a huge fan of squirrels, but if I see one on the road in front of me I still brake and let them get out of the way. I have heard people say this before, if someone mistreats the wait staff then the date is over. I agree. That's what my daughter has always done. First date is always a restaurant, so she can see how they treat everyone there. She's called me in the middle of a date when I was their ride and said it's over. He treats service industry workers like they are beneath him, so finishing this date is beneath me. She packs up a to-go box, pays the check, tips extra for his rudeness and leaves a note apologizing and explaining if she can't in person. By the way, not the butthole. I can't remember who told me this, but they said they used to know a boss who would take executive candidates to a regular restaurant of theirs where they would have it pre-arranged with their wait staff to make mistakes on their order, just to see how they handled it. Not the butthole. Your mother would be proud. How people treat those people they consider to be less important than themselves tells us so much about them. In HS I dated a very attractive girl for a few years. We met again years later, and we were talking about how she seemed to find genuinely good guys. She said guys are always nice to her, so she would judge them by how they treated the inconsequential working people they'd run into, wait staff, cabbies, bellhops. Rudeness to anyone was a huge red flag, regardless of how nice they were to her. I am also seconding this. Besties, he got up, apologized, and tipped. He didn't dump water on her head or raise his voice. It was embarrassing for sure, but he could have been way worse about it. Not the butthole. Side note, how someone treats waitstaff, retail workers, and cleaning people is a huge indicator of their true personality. If she was going to be this ugly on the first date, she's probably even worse outside of try to impress person I like situation. Yes, it could have been a lot more embarrassing for the girl if the original poster had demanded she apologize to the waitress, or argued with her about how she treated the staff through the date. So, my worst blind date. We met for dinner and he spent the whole time talking about how he's a hairstylist but he hates all his clients because they all suck and don't tip enough. The bill comes, we split it, he pays cash for his half, the waitress asks if he needs change, he says no, and as soon as she's out of earshot he sort of slyly leans in to say there isn't any change because that was the exact amount and that he doesn't tip. This, after complaining for 45 minutes about how stingy people who don't tip are the worst. As we left, he continued to be totally oblivious to my lack of interest and went in for a kiss. I panicked and grabbed his hand for a handshake, laughing out loud. Somehow, after all that awkwardness, he still texted later to say he had a great time and wanted to go out again. Anyway, this is a lesson as to why you don't let a straight friend set you up on the premise that he's gay and you're gay, so it must be a match made in heaven, even in the pre-Grindr days of, till to 2007 and you've just moved to a new town. Agreed. Also, the friend should be embarrassed to be around that girl. She's a nightmare and rude. Who would want to be associated with her? Not the butthole. You weren't a jackass. You didn't cuss anyone out. I think you made the most mature decision you could have. Not the butthole. Original poster replies. I guess that I just got up and left her there made me seem like a jackass. Especially since other people were around, so that's why I wasn't so sure if I had the best reaction. Thanks. Yeah, no, she made herself look like a jackass. Big time. She also made a chunk of your server's night miserable, but I think your reaction probably made it a bit better. Your actions were standing up for her, even if you didn't phrase it that way. You treated her with respect and dignity, unlike your date had. Also, you for sure saved yourself from a future, further, nightmare. Props to you for noping the heck out of there. If I were the server, I'd be running back to the other servers and gleefully tell them how the butthole in table 3 got her comeuppance. Definitely made her night better, if not all her coworkers' nights. Original poster, you are never under any obligation to sit there and let someone pull this kind of crap. I'm sure the friend who set you up got a very different story. Let them cool off and tell your side. If they still side with your date, ask yourself if this friendship is really worth it. This kind of stuff makes such a huge difference. My first shift waitressing was at a hotel. The woman who was supposed to be training me kept disappearing and I didn't know how to do anything. Had to catch other people to put in orders, didn't know any table numbers to know when my orders were up. A table of 8 left me a 10-cent tip and I did not even blame them. The next night they were there again, put back in my section. I was determined to not suck, had studied the menu, and was sweet as pie to the kitchen staff to get their help. One of the 8 top asked me a question about the hotel and I apologized and said I wasn't sure as it was only my second shift, but I could find out for him. He asked, "You started yesterday?" And I confirmed. They later left me $30 and told me I was learning fast. It was very kind, and I still think about what a confidence boost it was that helped me to stick it out. She also made a chunk of your server's night miserable, but I think your reaction probably made it a bit better. Having worked in the service industry, Original Poster's behavior would have made my night. Anytime he came back, he would get VIP service, up to and including free drinks. Yup, as a former server, anytime I had a table where one person was perfectly polite and the other a complete monster, I was always so baffled. Not only because how do you treat other human beings like this, but also how is the other person not absolutely embarrassed to be seen in public with them? Original Poster didn't embarrass this girl, she was already doing that just fine on her own. All Original Poster did was take himself out of an embarrassing situation. If I was your friend, I'd be embarrassed too. Embarrassed that I'm friends with someone that acts like an uncivilized brat to servers. To act that rude and entitled during the current times. Seriously, servers are currently losing their jobs, being crapped on and put their lives in jeopardy just to serve someone a plate of food. The fact that they were busy enough that you had to wait a whole 15 minutes is something to abuse the waitstaff over? Seriously, if I was your friend, I would be dying of embarrassment for setting you up with such a self-centered spoiled brat. If you'd left without paying for anything, so your date was stuck with the bill, you'd be TA. What you really did was nicely put a bully in her place. Not the butthole. Just know you made that server's night. It's a great story for him to tell about the guy who just walked away from the rudest person ever, leaving her alone. Seriously, the server will remember this funny story over the bad night it could have been. The other people around were almost certainly looking askance at her, not you. She's the one who was such a butt her date left. Not the butthole. How people treat servers, bar staff and retail workers says a lot about people. You dodged a bullet. I live by this rule too. I have worked in retail and customer service my whole adult life, and every time I'm the customer, I will make sure to be nice and polite to the person serving me. Not the butthole. She was way out of line from what it sounds like. Treating your server that badly is a red flag. You dodged a bullet. It's definitely telling that she was nice to Original Poster, but super rude to the server. Ain't nobody got time for that. I see. Two-faced date. Not the butthole. Good thing you were the kind who doesn't ignore how people treat others in such a blatantly disrespectful way. Red flags, and some still think, oh well, she's nice to me, so I'm special or whatever. I guess your friend who set the date up chose to ignore those red flags for whatever reason. She got so used to ignoring that behavior that she won't understand why you did what you did. Clearly more concerned with being humiliated. You didn't make a scene, you didn't yell or cuss at anyone. You simply got up, told the girl the date is over, paid for drinks and gave a waitress a tip. How does that make you a butthole? I want to give the friend the benefit of a doubt that they've never gone to a restaurant with this woman. If she had and assumed she'd be on her best behavior to impress the guy, that's kind of sucky. I find it very hard to believe that at no point in time they never got even a coffee together. Just saying, cause as friends you'd at least grab a bite once in a lifetime when hanging out. Absolutely not the butthole, Original Poster. This woman showed you a very unpleasant side of her personality, and staying with her at the restaurant in some ways would have been supporting or condoning her behavior. Just making it through the meal wouldn't be an option unless she stopped acting that way, and it sounds like you tried to get her to stop, and she continued to harass the waitress. You paid the bill, apologized, and did not leave the woman stranded. Good. That was being a gentleman enough in the circumstances. Thinking about other ways you might have handled it, all I can suggest is very calmly telling her what bothers you about what she is doing and straight up asking her to stop it, or you won't be able to stay because you can't just sit by and watch this. I don't see this having a high success rate, but at least she would have been warned. Who knows, maybe she'd have learned something about how to talk to people? Not the butthole. Good thing this girl showed her true colors from the get-go to allow you to dodge that bullet. I would have done the same thing, bud. There is an old pearl of wisdom: if someone is nice to you and rude to the waiter, they are not a nice person. Not the exact quote, but close. You Sir, dodged a very impolite bullet. Original poster replies. Maybe to you, but considering I was the one who left and all, I wanted to be sure if I didn't react in a rude manner by walking off the way I did. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.